Okay, so what I want to do here is just show you how I got into this trade and why I got into this trade. And there's a couple of things that you need to note. And I know that TMG, Jordan, he often uses the Bybit BTC USDT chart. Okay, now I was looking at this morning, and at this point, the green background, the green Stonksy background disappeared at about 10:43 UTC, and the price started to come down. And I was kind of hoping to get into a little bit of a short, but I thought, well, I'm waiting for the red background. It's just not happening. And the price came all the way down to here, like pretty much 90 grand, before I realised that that probably wasn't the chart to use. So I had a flick through my other charts, and I found that the BitGet one did have a red background there. If you're not quite seeing what you expect, then do have a little flick around between the different charts on TradingView. I mean, generally I've been using BitGet or Bybit, and in this case BitGet probably makes more sense because that's actually the exchange that I'm using anyway. So this is BTC USD, and oddly enough, if you use BTC USDT on BitGet, you don't see that either. That is something worth bearing in mind. You know, if you're not seeing what you expect, try something different. So let's go back to this one here. And indeed, that area there, that did also fill that in as well. Anyway, so what I did was I saw this go green after this big kind of dump here. Now that might be something worth looking out for, because I think after a big pullback, you are probably going to expect the price to go back up. So that might be a good opportunity to look for a bottom. Now what I did was I went into a trade. Now I was a bit late getting to my trade, and I got to my trade round about here. Straight afterwards the background went red, and I stayed in the trade, which probably wasn't the best thing to do. I also saw, potentially a little double bottom there. I know it doesn't mean much on the 1 minute time frame, but I do often see those things play out even on a very small time frame. Anyway, so I'll show you my trade. So here it is, a rather insane 25x leverage trade. Now I found this amazing that I started using Stonksy about a month or so ago, and this account was worth about $3,000. At the moment it's worth about $13,000. And I must say a lot of that is down to Stonksy. Okay, so that last part of the video was at 12:30 on Monday the 18th of November 2024. And I was thinking, okay, well I didn't get the best entry there. Stonksy went red, then no trade, and I kind of missed closing my trade. So I thought I'd just leave it open because the US Open starts at 2:30 in the afternoon UTC, and I thought I'd see what happened. And it turns out this was probably a good move. Stonksy on the 1 minute is now nice and green. That's good. There was a slight blip of red just as the market opened, but now it is green. So at the moment, my trades are looking good. Okay, so we did get a bit of a rejection at 92,700, and Stonksy went red here. I did actually do a little short. I didn't record it, unfortunately, but I'll just show you what I made. It was just a tiny amount, and I just a little 50x short, making 10%, and it just made a tiny amount of Bitcoin. That's the kind of strategy that I'm kind of working on at the moment. I'll probably do more about that in another video. But just to say that you can, on the way up, take little shorts, even though we are in a very bullish uptrend. So let's go back to TradingView. Okay, we're still short. I did come out of that one too early, to be honest. I probably could have hung on a little bit longer and made a little bit more money. But overall, I'm still holding for the long because my entry was not bad in retrospect. Okay, so it's now about 6 p.m. UTC on this day, and it looks like the peak was around about 4 o'clock when the price peaked at about 92.7k. So maybe I should have taken profit then, but I didn't. So let's go on to the 1 hour time frame, turn Stonksy off for the moment, and see if there's any kind of patterns that we can see that might give us a clue to what happens next. Now what I'm seeing here is this symmetrical triangle, which isn't quite symmetrical. It's kind of pointing upwards slightly, which makes it slightly bearish, to be honest. Nevertheless, it does look like we're kind of stuck in this range. Now, these things do break out eventually, And if they're pointing downwards, they tend to break upwards, and if they're pointing upwards, they tend to break downwards. This one here is pointing slightly upwards, but not quite. I suppose the top line could be more like that, with that being a little fake out there. In which case, with these things, whatever way the price came in, it's more likely that the price will leave, continuing the trend. So that would be to the upside. So I am tempted to sort of leave this trade open for a bit longer and see if I can get a better exit. But for the sake of finishing the video, I think I'll just show you what the profit would be if we close the trade now, which I think would have been a pretty good day's work, to be honest. Now bear in mind the price isn't at its best right now, but it's not bad. And we're using a margin of 0.1 Bitcoin, okay? Now I appreciate that is quite a large amount, but it's an achievable amount, isn't it? I am using 25x leverage, which is quite degenerate, but you don't have to do that, of course, and I suggest that you don't. It's better just to do a little trade every day, make a few percent, and just keep compounding your gains. But nevertheless, today we would have made 29.93%, which would have been 0.029 Bitcoin, which is about $2,654. Not bad for a day's work. No brainer? I think it is. If you've got any questions about Stonksy, please do leave them in the comments down below. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and make sure you've got the notifications set on all. I'll see you in the next one.